Hey guys, welcome back to Phil's Corner, and anyone who watches the live streams here on the channel will recognise this view. The camera's turned the other way, we're in our streaming setup, because today I'm going to be sharing my screen as we talk about the latest leaks for Euro 2024. Now, quick disclaimer as we start the video, I'm going to try and do this in one take, so if I do stumble over any of my words, I apologise in advance, but it's good to be chatting to you today. And of course, as we begin the video, I'll do the usual bits of housekeeping. Firstly, make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. It doesn't cost you anything, but if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get the latest from me in terms of videos like this, notification when I go live for my live streams, and all the other good stuff that comes by being a subscriber. If you enjoyed today's video and you'd like to see more of this, leave a like on the video. And you can also leave a comment. Ask me any questions you have about today's topic or anything else to do with football shirts. At the next Phil's Corner video, the next main Phil's Corner video, I'll be answering a bunch of questions from today's video and the comment section from my last main video. So do leave a comment as well. And if you want to go even further, I have a Patreon, and this Patreon that I have for Phil's Corner has a range of benefits. The most exciting of which is a free shirt as part of your support. That's one I designed with Icarus, and it does include personalization of a number of your choice. There's other benefits too. Check out the link in the description for more. But as we begin, again, we're in the streaming setup, so I will now switch over to my screen. So I'm a lot smaller here, but we can see this little tier list. Anyone who watches the Hot Wall, our streams, which we usually do on a Tuesday evening or sometimes Thursday afternoons, will recognize this kind of idea. But we've got a much more simple tier list, a more classic tier list with a bit of Phil's Corner flavour, of course. But we can see some leaks at the bottom. Now, to begin the video, what I will say, of course, is that we're recording this at the end of February. And given that the tournament doesn't kick off for a number of months, we're in this strange stage where, for a start, many kits haven't been leaked at all. And the leaks that we do have are very much subject to change. Although having said that, at this stage, typically when you're in the kind of calendar year of a tournament, the information is pretty good. Certainly the broad strokes, things like the colorways and even the patterns are going to be certainly more accurate than they would have been 6 months, even a year ago. So again, take this with a pinch of salt. We will be using to help us today Footy Headlines. Shout out to Footy Headlines. Everyone knows these guys, of course. They are very much top of the game when it comes to leaks. So we will go in alphabetical order, guys, and you can see there's a lot of gaps in this list, but let's start with Belgium and the Belgium home and away shirts. Now, of course, again, we're going to judge this based on the leaks, so we're going to kind of take it as we see it in these leaked articles, I should say. But if we get a look here at the home and away, I must say, guys, we're starting with potentially the best set, certainly of the leaks we've seen so far. I really like this pattern in the body. Now, of course, given that we are talking about leaks, we don't tend to get a lot of good information on the inspiration, although it looks like the away is based on Tintin, which is quite funny. But if we look at this design for the home shirt firstly, it's an interesting colour. It must be said, the burgundy, the maroon is somewhat surprising with the gold. I'm often not a big fan of gold accents, but I do like this combination. And again, it's all about that pattern for me. I love patterns like this, which add a lot of interest into a design. And just taking this at face value, honestly, guys, maybe we're peaking too early, but I actually think this Belgium home shirt is in the S tier. For me, it's exactly what I like to see in an international shirt. Something which has, again, a bit of interest, but it's not a crazy design. It's the kind of pattern which you can appreciate up close, has a little bit of kind of shimmer about it. It looks great. I really like it, and I like that the away shares the pattern. This is something which, of course, many shirts do, many home and away shirts do. They share a pattern. There are some different features though, of course, notably the collar, and the colorway is really good. I must say, you know, compared to the home, it's just as good. Like, I think if we're going to put the home in the S tier, I don't see why I wouldn't put the away in the S tier. And again, we are starting with what I would say is certainly one of the stronger sets. There are some other good kits to come, but looking at this, I would say we've got 2 S tier kits here. Maybe I'm being a bit too bold there, but I'm really, really high on these kits. And I think Adidas in general, we'll go through it a bit more as we go through the list. But I must say, they're looking pretty good. They're looking in decent shape. Not everything they're doing is great, but I'm excited about these kits. I mean, quite simply, based on the leaks, I'm very much looking forward to seeing more from Belgium. And it's really cool to see them getting a lot more love. For many years, they were kind of a bit of an afterthought with some of their manufacturers. Great to see them starting strong. Let's continue, guys, though, with England. And, of course, I am English, so I've got a bit more of a vested interest here. Now, these leaks have been circulating for quite a while, so we've had a lot of chance to look at them based on the collar. And this is going to be an ongoing discussion with Nike, guys. The collar on this Nike shirt, it's not great. I certainly don't like it. It's a very odd design. Again, we're basing this on leaks, and things could change. But based on this this leak here, if we can get a look at the collar more closely, there's a lot of photos here. We'll go with this. These mock-ups, of course, as well. Again, a bit rough around the edges, but you can kind of get the idea. I'm not sure what's going on here. It looks like about 3 collars in one. If we can move on from that for a second, it's got some nice trimmings. You know, the cuff detail is okay, and the back note detail is quite nice that we saw as we flicked through these pictures. But the overall look of this is very safe. It's very conservative. That's not a bad thing, and a lot of international shirts do fall into that category. But my overall impression is, I think with a better collar, this one would have potential, and maybe even as high as the A tier. But I do think we've got to be, fairly critical about the collar, because I actually think it's potentially the worst one on this list. Again, we'll go through them in more detail. Nike are doing these weird kind of asymmetric collars as well, but actually I think that has some appeal. This one I actively dislike. I'd still put it in the C tier. I don't think it's a D tier shirt. But that's my feelings on the England home. Not expecting much. And England actually have had some really good shirts. So, you know what? Nike can't always get it right. Not feeling this upcoming home. Coming to the away, very interesting colours. And this is one of the more bold colourways that we've ever seen for England. I think it is an unusual combo. And I'm very interested to see what Nike and England come out with in terms of the messaging behind this. The name Dark Raisin combined with Sesame. It's a really odd combo, but I do think it's quite nice, actually. It's interesting because I think if we look at the base colours, so ignoring the side panels, if we can possibly do that for a second, I think these two colours, it's not what you'd expect at all, but as a combination, as just a simple colourway, I like it quite a lot. I think it has a lot of potential. I wouldn't say it was really an England away shirt, but that's okay. I think it's okay to step out of the box a little bit. Looking at the side panels, I'm not really sure exactly, again, whether this... for me, you could take these colours, and I think it's a really interesting, palette across the board, but take some of these colours, and I'd like to see a bit more like the approach with the inside net detail or the inside kind of collar here. I'd like to see it a bit less kind of chunky, a bit less thick, maybe some kind of a much more sort of refined, subtle detail in the cuffs or even in the body of the shirt. Basically, I think if they dialed it back a little bit on the sides, I'd probably like it a bit more. That's a personal preference thing. But I certainly like it a lot more than the home. And it's unusual, and it's very much has the feel of a kind of third or fourth shirt rather than an away shirt, which typically in an away shirt you would have something a bit more traditional on the international scene. But you know what? I actually think it has potential. It's one of those which is really strange, but it will certainly leave its mark, if nothing else. I'm going for the B tier. Close to the A, though. For the England away, we come to France now. So staying with Nike, let's see what the French have to offer us. Now, the first thing which stands out to me on this home leak is the colour, the shade of blue. Of course, we know we're going to get a blue shirt, but it's always interesting to see, do France go for a more of a navy shade? Do they go for much more of a kind of true blue? Over the years, Nike have kind of done a number of things, but they are certainly trending towards lighter shades in more recent years compared to the early Nike days. and I like this a lot. I think it's really good. The asymmetric collar is a big talking point. We mentioned this before. This is going to divide a lot of people. I think the biggest thing for me here is that whilst it's a bit jarring, it is a bit unusual. I don't think it's immediately negative, unlike the England home, which I actively didn't like. This one, I think I could see a bit more legs with. The thing is, with an asymmetric detail, broadly speaking, I quite like asymmetry, and I think if you're going to do this though, I'd like to see that replicated in the cuffs as well. Maybe even balance it so that if you had, you see how it cuts away here. I'd quite like maybe if you had a bit of that cuff, that flag detailing on the cuffs, and maybe kind of either mirror it or kind of have it, again asymmetric in the same pattern. I don't know if that's making any sense as I'm rambling. I should say as well, these are all just my first takes or initial impressions. So again, I'm almost deciding as we're looking at this set of pictures and mock-ups. But yeah, honestly, I actually think this one is pretty nice. And I think, despite the simplicity, I like that they've gone for the full colour crest. That's something which they haven't done a lot. Usually, again, especially with modern French kits, it's often been one colour. Great to see the crest in all its glory. I actually think this is an A ticket. And this might be surprising, I think, certainly to rank it above something like the England away, which is a lot more dynamic and surprising. But I really think that's a good French kit. And I actually think the collar has a chance to land a bit better in people's eyes. But we come to the away, and this is a bit more different, a bit less expected. White as a base is a fairly standard choice, but the gradient idea with the pinstripes is less common. Now I say gradient, it actually appears to be just red and blue. Actually, I thought it was more of a gradient. Maybe it's just the effect. Of course, again, we're looking at leaks and mock-ups. No, it looks like a half and half. I actually think this idea is quite good, but I don't think the execution is strong. So I think if you had this pinstripe idea, that to me is really strong, but I don't really think these solid cuffs are doing anything. In fact, I think they're actually taken away from the design. It feels like leftovers from another look to me. And I don't know exactly off the top of my head what I would do, but I think certainly adding, incorporate it more into the design. Maybe I think I would probably still want to have a white base, and you could still have details to have it as a kind of, as a contrast to the base of the shirt. But I don't really like the colour blocking in comparison to the white and the pinstripes. To me, that it's just a clash in design. I'm not really feeling it. Happy to see the pinstripes go all the way down the back. That's a small but important thing. And again, it's great to see the full colour crest. But I think this one, despite being a really interesting idea, and again, it's interesting to have the half and half approach, something which we've not really seen a lot from France. So some really creative thoughts going into this one. I would actually put this alongside the England away. That to me is where this one lands as my kind of first impression. But again, it wouldn't take much to bump it up to the 80. I think broadly speaking, it's more good than bad from Nike across England and France. And of course, when we get the actual releases, we'll get to see the full pictures. And I think often, certainly in my mind, I might be more keen on these shirts when we see the actual launch material. Let's continue, guys. Let's go to Germany. Now, I really liked the Belgium home and away shirts. What about Germany? If we start with the home. Now, these mock-ups, again, based on leaks, a lot could change. But I must say there's a lot which I like about this. The use of the flag colours in the three stripes is something which is very simple, but I do like this approach. I say through the three stripes. It's actually the panel beneath a set of white three stripes where you have the idea that is the flag. And I think it's quite a notable design feature. Broadly speaking, flag details are really good in international kits, and even though it's an obvious direction to go down, I really like it, and I think this actually looks pretty strong. It's great to see this pattern as well, which looks kind of like it's based on the German Federation crest. I'm not sure. Has a similar kind of geometric feel to the Belgium shirt, so maybe that's a theme for Adidas this year. We'll have to wait and see. I should mention the template as well, actually, which Adidas are using. It seems fine, nothing too special. very much like an iteration on some previous templates we've seen from the brand. But I think my first impression of this is pretty strong. I'd like to see, of course, more to fully appreciate the pattern. You can't really tell based on these leaks, but the mock-up certainly gives the impression that it could be a little bit of a good thing. I really do think there's a lot of potential there. So my first impression, my initial thinking, looking at this list, I think it's closer to A than B, but I'm still trending towards B. I think I'll stay in the B tier, but you know, these shirts in this B tier are looking pretty good, so it's competitive so far in these leaks. I think we'll go for B for the home, but we come to the away, and I must say, we'll come on to the colours briefly. The first impression for me, I like that we've got this similar idea that we see within the panel of the home, the shoulder panel of the home. And that to me is really good. It has the feel of a kind of Germany 1994 kit, kind of an evolution of that. So I think the pattern is good, but the colorway could not look more like a keeper kit. Like, to me, that really looks like a keeper kit or a training top, and I don't mean that in a positive sense. Now, perhaps I'm being a bit kind of hypocritical because I talked quite positively about the England away, which has a similar vibe with the purple or the raisin, whatever it was called, the raisin and sesame. But I think this one is just missed the balance, and again, it's more of a case of good pattern but not a great colorway. Having said that, I don't think we could put in the D tier because I think the shirt is still pretty good, and I actually think it's kind of a C plus shirt still, despite my reservations on the colorway. But I'm going to stick it in the C tier. And again, if we just look at these as a combo, I really like that you've got the shared idea, and it's not exactly the same, but it's whether you go for the Belgium approach of literally replicating the pattern, or you have more of a kind of subtle referential nod, it's nice to see those links. So as a set, it's pretty good. And of course, it's no coincidence that brands are really pushing the boat out more for away shirts, given that home shirts, especially international home shirts, are very hard to iterate on year on year, season on season, or every 2 years, as is usually the case with international kits. So that's Germany. Certainly my least favourite of the sets we've seen so far. But having said that, not all that bad. Let's come to Italy. Now, there's been a lot of excitement since Italy have teamed up with Adidas recently. Not really feeling this on first impression. This kind of matrix pattern, that's what it reminds me of. Of course, many people rightly are excited about the three stripes and the flag colours. Such a simple thing. I have no idea why Adidas don't do this more, because it really does look effective. I think for me, again, if we look at this pattern though, I don't think it's a strength of the kit. Now, you could argue that it's better than nothing, but I think compared to something like the Belgium kit, which looks much more, to me, that's a much more effective pattern within the body. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think Italy would need to replicate that to have a good kit in my eyes, but I feel like this pattern is a lot more throwaway, and I'd probably rather not have it. Having said that, the shirt is pretty solid, and there's things which I don't like the new crest, but that's nothing to do with this shirt particularly. So it's a very decent shirt, and of course the three stripes very much are the star of the show. But I think, if we look at the kits here, it's much more like a B or a C tier kit than it is an A or an S tier. So I think I'm going to go for C. And it's that kind of shirt which, again, for me, if the pattern was a little bit more interesting or a bit more just high quality in my eyes, it could easily be bumped up higher. We'll go for C though, as based on the leaks. And then if we come to the away shirt, let's see what we've got here. Again, the similar flag idea, and I quite like this actually. I like that they've not. It would have been easy just to do basically a whiter version of the home, but it's cool to see. Very much the idea of having the flags and the three stripes interpreted in a very different sense by having a kind of half and half look and I really like this. I think this to me is a lot stronger, and certainly again it's really cool to see that they didn't just do kind of a white shirt with the Italian flag and the 3 stripes. They've actually done something a bit different, and it's great when you see the crest again. Obviously that same kind of pattern of having the green on the player's right, on our left as we're looking at it here, and the red on the player's left. And I think overall this one, it makes good use of the template as well, seeing those green and red areas of the shirt, the little kind of flashes of colour there as you see on the side, and that same pattern, whilst I still don't think it's doing much for me, at the same time it looks a lot better in this kind of in this style with the white base. So I'm actually quite high on this one. I think this is not even far from an S ticket, but I think we'll calm down, we'll go to A. I do like it though, and I think again, once you see actual pictures of this one, I think there's a lot of potential. Certainly one of my preferred Italy away kits from recent seasons. What about the Dutch? Let's come to the Netherlands. Often the Netherlands bring a lot of heat, bring a lot of excitement to the kit world. Fair to say their upcoming home is on the safe side. It's certainly on the safe side in terms of pattern. It, at least based on leaks, doesn't have much in the way of a pattern. We'll come on to the away shortly. But having said that, I don't think it's a bad thing. Of course, the strength of any Netherlands home kit is that it does have that wonderful orange colour. I think the most interesting thing here, when you look at the choice of the kind of light blue or teal, whatever you want to call it, to me that doesn't add a lot. And I think if you're going to use the teal or the light blue there, I'd like to see that. Well, you know what, I was about to say I'd like to see it in other areas, and actually we do have it here on the cuffs and the back. So okay, I take that back. I was going to say I want to see that colour elsewhere in the kit. Turns out, based on release, it is there, so that's actually good. I think I'd like a little bit more. Just, I think if you're going to introduce a tertiary colour like that, you've already got of course the orange and the dark blue or the navy. I think if you're going to introduce the third colour, for me I'd like to see it just a tiny bit more. I'm being extremely picky here, but you know, I criticise and rate kits for a living, so it's part of my job description. Maybe if we saw like an inside net detail with a bit more of this colour, or a jock tag, although you don't tend to see jock tags in international football. You know, basically I think this is actually close to being kind of in the A tier. That's how much I do actually like it, despite being quite plain. It's definitely a B tier shirt for me though, and that's no bad thing. Certainly when you look at this shirt, I think people will easily say it's just a boring shirt, but I do think actually the choice, again, using those little bits of light blue, and also not being afraid to not just have a crazy shirt for the sake of it, I don't think that's a bad thing. So I like that in the B tier. The away is certainly anything but subtle though, and I've already joked about this on Twitter, but it's very much you know, a big shirt in the bus seat theme, in the shirts that look like bus seats. And this is something which I joked about many years ago. I say many years, it was kind of 2017, 2018, when there was very much a trend in the football shirt industry. And I like this one a lot. I think it's probably a little bit too ugly, and that's the thing with these bus seat shirts. They are kind of a bit ugly by design. Probably a bit too ugly to be considered in the very top tiers for me personally. But I think, you know, there's a lot to be said about this look. Great to see that it appears to be, well, certainly all over the front. And if we look at the back, there is a blank panel, sadly. But overall, it has that kind of, again, that slightly kind of, it's a busy, almost headache-inducing pattern, really. But sometimes I think, especially when you've got a plain home shirt, you've got license to do some of this. And this is a real key, I think. If you're going to have a simple shirt, and you can see, you know, Nike are good at this. They've done the same with England to an extent. France, again, like I think it's good when you have a simple home shirt. You've almost got more license to go all out, I would say, with the away shirt if you've got a more traditional home. I think it's in the B tier. It's close to the A tier, but I think, you know, even though it's very fun, and it will definitely be a hit, I'm sure, with some people, although it has that Marmite quality, I do think it's actually a step below some of the other shirts we've seen. But that's the Netherlands. We're continuing with Nike and going to Portugal. It's no surprise that most of the big brand shirts are the ones that have been leaked first. Perhaps later on in a month or two's time, or whenever we get more leaks, we might do another tier list. I'll see, or maybe we'll just do a review when the kits are launched. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you would like to see. Coming to Portugal, now we are very much clutching at straws when it comes to things to talk about here. I think the main thing to say with this Portugal kit is that we'll see very shortly. This follows this idea of a very simple home to allow breathing room for a crazier away. I'm not super keen on this one. I think it's difficult, right? When you've got a team like the Netherlands, they just have a more impactful colour scheme. And sadly, you can try essentially the same sort of thing with Portugal. It's not going to land as well in my eyes. And you're looking for things like, what are the secondary colours? What are the details, if any? The internet detail, is fine. That's perfectly reasonable. And obviously, one thing which a lot of these leaks are missing are a good look at those details. So it's cool to see that even on this leak. But I think this colour combo, and again, the choice of black, it's lacking a little bit for me compared to some other combinations that Portugal have had for their home shirts. And I'm actually personally a bit more partial to a darker red as well. Now again, it's an interesting thing, right? We looked at France. So if we go here, I quite like a lighter shade of blue, whereas for Portugal, I'm a bit more partial to some of their darker colours, and I think that's probably just because I really enjoy some of their kits from the noughties. But the lack of any pattern here is quite damning, and I think they can't get away with it basically as much as the Netherlands can. Is it a D tier kit? I don't think it is. I think it's close. It's kind of on this border. You know what? I will put it here because when I look at these, I like all these C tier shirts a lot more. So actually, on reflection, we'll stick it in the D tier. And I hate to say it, but when we come now to the away, this is a prime example, guys, of a good idea executed poorly. What on earth is going on here? Now, of course, and I believe this article even, it nods to the idea of kind of tiles and ceramics, and something which we've seen many concept kits over the years lean into for Portugal because it is such a great part of the country's culture and the aesthetic of the country. But looking at this looks to me actively horrible. It has a kind of almost sort of, I don't know, like chemical kind of bacteria look to me. It looks genuinely really bad. I really don't like this at all. Perhaps if we had a bit less of the pattern if it was just on the sleeves or something, I could probably get on board with this. And it's tricky, right? Because again, we've seen concept kits do this approach really well, but they've gone for something a bit more abstract here, but it just looks bad. Genuinely, I kind of wish we had an E or an F tier, because it's far worse than the home, but we will stick it in this bottom tier, and I am not sure at all what Nike are doing now. We are basing this on the leaks. Maybe the final kit will be a lot better, but based on the leaks, like why? I mean, even just if they're done, it would have been maybe too simple, but just take, like, there's so many good patterns, right, in these tiles, just on this one picture. Just take that pattern and use that and have it nice and crisp with a good shade of blue. This is just terrible, the away shirt. So, without a doubt, my least favourite of the whole set of kits we're seeing today. And it's funny, I didn't intend to group up a lot of these kits, but you can see, like, Belgium home and away in the S tier, Netherlands in the B, Portugal in D, the others spread around. But I really, I can't criticise this one enough. Let's see what the final kit looks like. We'll finish though with Spain and Turkey. Let's come to Spain. Now, when we talked about Portugal, we talked about secondary colours being an important consideration. That's interesting to see Spain go essentially just with red and yellow. Often Spain, of course, will have navy or blue as a secondary or tertiary colour. I don't hate this choice of yellow, and I think when we look at this here, even though in this league, kind of, I would associate this combo more with like a China, for example. So, I think I'd probably prefer to have a bit of navy or blue in there. But having said that, there's also a bit of a pattern, and it's a small thing, but at least it's a kind of like a wavy pattern. It's something. It's not special, and I think my overall impression of this one is that it's more of a C-tier shirt than anything else. this one I think definitely, and any shirt which has a subliminal pattern or a subtle pattern in the body, you're really looking for the actual release, of course, to fully understand what that pattern is looking like, because if it's well executed, it could really show up. And I rated Belgium in the S tier. If that pattern actually on the final kit does not look good, it will of course impact my thoughts. But that's the home. We come then to the away. And I'm going to repeat something I said with the Germany away. I've messed up again. This could not look more like a goalkeeper kit for me. This shade of yellow, this kind of fairly, they've called it pulse yellow, but it's, this kind of pale yellow. Not feeling it. Interesting to see what looks to be the same pattern as the Italy shirts. We'll wait and see if this is maybe just an Adidas wide thing. Maybe their latest equivalent of Heat Ready. I'm not sure if they'll keep calling it Heat Ready for this edition of kits. But yeah, looking at this, it's an unusual colourway, and it certainly gets points for kind of mixing things up. And I must say the kind of light blue, grey, cloudy section here is quite interesting to me. But the overall look of this one has the look of a keeper kit. I prefer it to the colourway of the Germany. And I think as such, it's close to the C tier. But then again, I'm looking at this here. I think we have to put this one down in the D tier. I'm not feeling the combo. Now, a lot could change, and based on this leak, I'm sticking in the D tier. I think we'll see if this one actually looks better on release. I really want to get a good look at that colorway, because again, we're basing this off very scant information. But it's funny. Even in the article here on 50 Headlines talking about goalkeeper kits as well. Not sure about this. It's another D tier shirt for me. We kind of ended on a bit of a drab note, really. We started off strong. It turns out we did peak too early, but we come to Turkey to finish things off. And I have to say, I feel like I've seen these Turkey kits 3 or 4 times in a row. Very little to say about this collection. Don't get me wrong, I like the kind of general aesthetic of Turkey home kits when they have this kind of red band. Obviously it's an old look, but again, this really could be a shirt from any time in the past 10 years. Perhaps there's some good details which might save this, but both of these completely underwhelming. Now, despite all those criticisms, sometimes even if it is really boring, you could still be looking at something like a C tier shirt. And I actually think the home, despite being incredibly simple, I would rank it above these 3, and I do think actually I would put it in the C tier, very much in the bottom half of the C tier. But that's where I would put the Turkey. I believe it's the home, isn't it? The white, yeah, I think it is. Then we come to the away, completely average. Again, we really need anything. I say this on my Hot Wall stream. Anything to hang your hat on, anything to kind of say, you know what, I like this shirt. Now, the one thing which has been highlighted in this article, you've got a very subtle two-tone collar. It's the smallest of details. I actually do like that, and I think if there was maybe a tiny bit more contrast and a bit more like of this darker shade, right? Just throw that all over the body, and it doesn't have to be a crazy pattern in the sense of like a really sort of out there pattern, but I just want to have some depth to the texture, something which can basically separate this from the pack. As is, it's gonna land in the D tier, and this gives us our final tier list. So this is based again on leaks from the end of February. Very brief recap. Shout out to Belgium, very excited for their kits. We will see if they live up to the hype, but that is the only set of kits actually which I'm really excited about. Closely followed in the A tier though by France and Italy, with the home and away shirts from those nations respectively, and the B tier gets interesting, the likes of England making an appearance, and the Dutch home and away combo. C tier, a lot of these shirts I really could see moving up the board, but as stands, again a bunch of nations there, notably Spain's first appearance, and then we get to the D tier. Portugal, the unfortunate nation from this list, the only nation to have 2 kits in the D tier. But that will wrap up our tier list, guys, and thank you for watching. Of course, as we said at the start, don't forget to subscribe if you're new, don't forget to leave a like and a comment, And if you like this content, not only will we be doing these as main Phil's Corner videos like this, but we also do very similar streams like this every week, give or take, on Phil's Corner Live, on our Hot Wall streams. We have a giant tier list, and again, we're chucking in every new shirt on that tier list. So if you like tier lists, definitely check out the streams, and we'll probably be doing more of these tier lists on the channel like this now. But thank you. We did that in one take. I'm pretty happy with that. Only 1 or 2 stumbles. It's been great to chat to you guys. I will see you very, very soon for another one. But take care and all the best.